Fergus would have approved. And it's called The Piss Artist. After everything that's happened, it feels incredible to admit this, but there was a time, not so very long ago, when I doubted the very existence of Fergus Malloy. The late, great Fergus Malloy, a piss artist of genius, a Caravaggio in the art of getting drunk. To see Fergus bringing it around was akin to watching Rembrandt shape up to his easel, Matisse prepare his palette. But at first I thought he was some kind of practical joke dreamt up to tease a newbie. I'd be sitting in the pub, the Blue Blazer, say, or the Beehive down in the Grass Market, one of the gang of four. Jake, who made sculptures out of stuff bought in pound shops, Annie, the abstract expressionist, and Ronald, a vegetarian Francis Bacon. It'd be shaping up to be a great night. Someone would have told an excellent story about some drunken exploit involving a pie supper and a mortuary assistant from leaving, and I'd be thinking, yes, this is what being a student's all about. Not sitting in some lecture hall, but in the pub, enjoying yourself. And then Jake would say, but do you remember that time Fergus turned up carrying a heron? A real live heron he bumped into down in Stockbridge, and they'd all laugh at the memory, and then it would come. The moment I dreaded. The lull. Annie asking, did Fergus say he'd maybe pop in tonight? And they'd all look hopefully towards the pub door, before Ronald would sigh and shake his head. Nah, said he'd be working, got a new project, and that would be that. The night killed stone dead, and all because this joker Fergus hadn't turned up. One night at the City Cafe, after another wake-like silence had descended, I'd had enough. Piped up with, okay, this is getting daft now. This whole Fergus shtick, you're having me on, right? What is he, some kind of urban myth? You guys gone all conceptualist on me. Because are you telling me that this guy, the guy who jumped onto one of the bulls of Paploma and rode it clean out of town, who challenged Hunter S. Thompson to a beer can shooting contest and won, who once dared Bridget Bardot to eat his homemade sausage, actually exists? And it was as if I'd walked into a mosque wearing a bacon balaclava. A switch flicked, plunging the pub into silence, broken only by the occasional gasp, a whimper even. As if I'd said something really shocking like, you know, maybe this whole Lib Dem Tory coalition thing will work out just fine. Or, actually, the wire was pretty dull. I much preferred the bill. Inevitably, it was Fergus and his spectacular timing that proved the saving of me. Just as I was getting seriously spooked, feeling like the person who'd stuck Don't Worry, Be Happy on the jukebox at a goth convention, the door of the cafe burst open and in stottered one of the strangest looking men I'd ever seen. And bear in mind, I was at art college. Odd, but also weirdly familiar. I probably caught sight of him about town before, but as he called out, "Hello there," and ambled over to our booth, he kept reminding me of other things. A Giacometti statue freed from its plinth, an animated Picasso sketch of Don Quixote, an updated version of a Van Dyck portrait of Charles I having a swally. Battered black leather worky boots held together by laces and willpower alone, skinny long legs and jeans so tight I very much doubt there were any wee Ferguses running about, and his top half so bulky you wondered how those wiry legs kept the rest of him up. Wrapped in frayed layers of vests, shirts, jumpers, the occasional waistcoat, all topped off with a thick navy blue jacket that looked as if it had previously belonged to a Russian naval commander, submarine commander, Fergus later corrected me, one in a darts game on a trawler crossing the Caspian Sea. The purple silk scarf wrapped round his neck, the pointy beard, waxed moustache, thick thatch of salt and pepper hair, short at the back and sides, but hedge-dragged, paint-flecked on top, spiky and curly both, should have made him look ridiculous. A man to be escorted off the premises and into the nearest madhouse. But if anyone could pull off this boho, dandy, buck-fast drinking, jakey pirate look, it was Fergus. By the time he'd made it to the booth, even though I hadn't even been introduced yet, I was grinning, happy he was here, chuffed to bits, even proud that he was joining us. Because this was Fergus's talent, his uncanny knack, his glamour, if you like. By walking into a place he could make dull pulp lights sparkle, music sound sweeter, laughter flow like cold pints of Tennent's on a hot day in August. And so it was that night. Fergus took control in a way you didn't mind at all, scarcely noticed, like bobbing down a river on a raft and giving yourself over to the currents, a feeling exhilarating and scary at the same time. Yes, I admit my memory is somewhat hazy, but it was to discover this was par for the course after a night, a day, a week out with Fergus. Snatches of memory coming back to you in sober moments, as confusing and exotic as dreams. Was that really Fergus playing accordion with a bunch of Croatian gypsies and little binkies? How had he found that club? The one in the vault under South Bridge, where you'd be dancing in the red light, turning everyone demonic, then look up and see a window, a skylight cut into the pavement above, folk passing by oblivious to the fun beneath their feet, or looking down, shaking their head in disbelief at the spectacle below. And where did those tequila sunrises come from? The tequila sunrises we sipped on top of Carlton Hill, while bats skimmed our heads, hedgehogs snuffled at our feet, the city turning rosy below us in the glow of the morning sun. It felt far too soon when Fergus stood and made an elaborate bow, telling us, "Now folks, got to love you and leave you. There's a man I need to see about a stallion." And we knew he wasn't kidding. I finally understood that lull, the slump when we gave up hope of Fergus's appearance. You'd have thought sometimes it would have come as a relief. The week an essay was due or exams were looming, it was probably best you didn't spend an evening wasted, breaking into Edinburgh Zoo to feed chips to the penguins, getting a tour around Edinburgh Castle at 1 a.m. by an ex-Marine night watchman, or, as Jake did one morning, wake up naked in the bed of a High Court judge in the new town, clothes vanished, later located clothing various Edinburgh statues. But more often than not, Fergus's absence felt like an opportunity missed. Because when he did turn up to act as pished Pied Piper to our small band of wannabe retrobates, he made us feel magnificent, better than our sober selves. It was during one of those quieter nights in the Blue Blazer that I asked him, "Fergus, what do you do exactly? What is it, painting or sculpture or what? The art, I mean." And he gave me a look at, wouldn't you like to know, smile, a twist of his moustache before waving his hand around the table and saying, this is what I do. This and other things. And there was Jake and Ronald talking intently, sketching out their plans for a future exhibition, an idea they'd been havering about until Fergus had got chatting to a gallery owner who'd agreed to give them some free space. And Annie was laughing so hard she could scarcely breathe at some joke told to her by the magician sitting next to her. A guy she'd never have met had Fergus not brought him over to pull pound coins out of her ears all evening. "Piece artiste par excellence, c'est moi," Fergus said as he raised his glass. But there, just for a second, before the whiskey touched his lips, I thought I glimpsed something else. A quick flicker of sadness that was gone by the time he'd downed the drink and won gave me a wink and said, "Now, if you'll excuse me, little boy's room." What shocked me most about Fergus's death was just how shocked I was. This was a man who'd lived life on the edge for years, who must have been close to 60, but acted as if he'd yet to leave his teens. Yet there was something timeless about him, thrawn and indestructible. So when I walked into the city cafe that afternoon to find Jake and Ronald and Annie with their drinks untouched, ashen-faced, eyes red-rimmed, and I asked, stupidly, "Hey guys, what's up? Somebody died." And Ronald started to cry, Annie silently sliding a copy of the evening news over to me. I had to read the article 3 times before the terrible truth of it struck home. "Artist killed in council death plunge," read the headline. He hadn't died while trying to scale the Scott Monument or abseiling down the Dean Bridge using a rope fashioned out of dressing gowns he'd found in a bag outside of charity shops, acts he'd threatened on previous nights out. Instead, according to the account provided by a visiting mariachi band, after a night in the tequila, he'd successfully fixed a sombrero to the head of the wooden figure that stands outside the council offices, had called out a triumphant, "Ay caramba!" before slipping and falling awkwardly onto his head. The sort of story that left you not knowing whether to laugh or cry, and so the four of us sat there for the rest of the evening, and did both.